Hi, this is Koku with blackfilm.com, and today we have Gina Prince-Bythewood. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Good morning.
And today we're here to discuss The Old Guard, of course. For starters, and I say this sincerely, I really have to tell you this. Val, the founder of blackfilm.com, you are her favorite director, and I mean that. And so to her, it's like a wow moment, so it's really exciting that you came to join us. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And the second thing I got to tell you, that's sort of another thing, is that during blackfilm.com's inception, you were the first director to come and sit down with us and do a Q&A with our audience.
Nice.
And you gave us the same status and respect that you did of other outlets. And we literally at that point were on the ground floor and we did not have the same status. But you didn't treat us differently, you didn't treat our audience differently. And that's something that stayed with us. So we talk about you a lot, but in a good way.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. So speaking of first, what we wanted to talk about is that you are the first Black woman to not only make a comic book movie, but a big budget comic book movie, of course. So how does that feel to be the first in this moment? That's so that daunting.
Mm-hmm. I truly hate that in 2020 we're still having firsts. Like, when is it going to stop? But my hope is, that in getting this opportunity, my focus was on making a good movie so that I can keep that door open for the next sister that wants to come through. That's just how Hollywood works. The spotlight is very bright when there's so few of us. And so it's important, as I said, to be prepared when you get this moment so that you can help others. So I did feel enormous pressure. You have enormous pressure anyway on any film that you make. You just want to make a good film. But that added pressure was there. But for me, maybe being an athlete, I just feed off of that, and it drove me to work harder.
Awesome. So in saying that, how did you get paired with this material? Because obviously in observing your background, you do have a varied background. So there's not like a Gina does this thing, where you're known to do this thing. So obviously you do challenge yourself, but how did you arrive here to do this film in this moment?
Mm-hmm. I've been wanting to do a big action film. I love the genre. I see everything. And I really wanted my opportunity to bring my aesthetic to the big sandbox. So I started making definitive choices. Well, foremost, I put it in the ether. You got to start there of, speaking to what you want, but then just making steps. And one of the first was shooting Marvel's Cloak and Dagger pilot, which gave me that opportunity to work with stunts and vis effects and started to get me into the conversation, which then led to Silver and Black, which I was on for about a year and a half, the Marvel Sony film. And that didn't work out, but that absolutely kept me again in that bigger conversation. And then Skydance sent me this amazing script that I was so excited by, and it was everything I wanted to do in the genre. The fact that it was two female leads, the fact that one was a young Black female hero that I got to put out into the world, and at the end of the day, what's most important, I love the story, and the story and characters moved me.
Yes, it's an awesome film. And I thought it was just so awesome that you have these badass chicks, like you said, the two female leads with this kick-ass immortal squad, it's just, but at the same time, you also have this really beautiful gay romance. How were you able to capture all of these inclusive elements without making it feel so forced and hokey? We see a lot of that right now where everybody's like forcing like, ooh, diversity, inclusion, but you did it in a way where it was just packaged really nicely. It didn't feel like you were forcing us to have a moment.
Hmm. Yeah, I really have been thinking a lot about this, and somebody said it and I'd never thought of it before, but I think it's true that, I see the world obviously through a Black female lens. And so I bring that lens to my filmmaking. And I think it informs how I, present the story, how I present the characters. And, foremost, the most important thing about diversity and making it organic is that it's not just putting people of different races or nationalities or sexual orientations in a role and that's it. Like, it has to go deeper than that. You have to allow people to be true to their culture, to be authentic and truthful, So you have to bring those elements fully, and part of that is in the writing. Part of that is the amount of research I do, so I can bring those kind of things to the table, and then I rely a lot on the actors and give them the freedom to bring their truth, to the screen. So I feel like that's where it comes from, and then a that genuine desire to make films that look like the world that I want to see, that we don't often get to see. And that is just a diverse world where we bring everybody and allow everyone the opportunity to see themselves as a hero.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk about the epic floor scene. My mind was blown. I'm just like, all over the place. It was very realistic and very gritty and fluid, and the choreography was just amazing. How long does it take to shoot something like that and to your standard, where you're just like, now it works?
Mm-hmm.
And how physically taxing was it on the actors? I know with Charlize, we've obviously seen her, be the female action hero, but with others, like, did it feel like they kind of like, was it training? What goes on in something like that?
Yeah, well, foremost, it starts with the vision. And I remember when I read the script, I didn't know about the graphic novel at that point. So I was reading it fresh, and I got to that kill floor scene, and I was like, that's when I was like, oh my God, I did not see it coming. Then when they come back to life, didn't see it coming. So mind blown. And it was exciting to think about that. But then there's also that, oh my God, how am I going to do that? Because it's so visceral on the page. And then when I went back to the graphic novel, the panels are just so dope. But I wanted to start with what is the story of the scene, and that really influenced the vision. I knew that I wanted to give a bit of a homage to the graphic novel with the use of silhouette. But how do I believably tell the story of four of our old guard who are working with archaic weapons up against 16 mercenaries with modern weaponry? And what was that about, and what story could I tell from that? And it was telling the story of the difference between these fighters, the fact that the old guard know how to kill up close, hand to hand, with an axe, with a sword, whereas modern soldiers learn on the gun, and you're shooting at targets. So you don't have that immediate ability to kill. And that hesitation is what gives the old guard their advantage. And so really playing into that, but also giving each character a moment, a showcase, until we give Andy, the final, big showcase of her skills. But it sets the tone for the film, sets the tone for the characters and how badass they are. And so it was absolutely fun to shoot that scene. But it took a lot of training and to get that choreography, so you feel that these group of people have been fighting together, for centuries, and that was really told through the choreography. But it was a lot of work, but I can't even tell you, hella fun when they got it just right. It was exciting.
That's awesome. At this point in your career, obviously, as a director, you're not like small fries, So, what is it like to work with the actors that you work with, or just work with, with Charlize or Chiwetel? Is there room for you to be a fan at this juncture? We could say like, wow, I'm working with these people too.
Yeah, I mean, I loved working on this film. Foremost, I've been so fortunate to work with so many dope actors throughout my career.
Yeah.
And with this film, I knew I wanted great actors with every single role, because it makes my job easier. It's not only that their craft is at next level, but also the work that they put in to make their characters feel real and authentic. I'm telling you, it's one thing to watch Chiwetel up on screen, and we watch him and appreciate his work, but to be a couple feet from him and seeing it, it's like he is a genius. It's just really beautiful to watch how good he is, and you get to see how good he is, and to have conversations with Chiwetel. And seriously, when I have a note that he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right," it's like, "Oh, give me a little, pat," because most of the time he knew his character so well and nailed it. So, it's that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it is a collaboration, and that's how you improve the script or the story of the characters, of these great deep conversations that I was able to have with a lot of the actors.
So, So obviously the story, it flowed very, very nicely, but you did give us like a really, really interesting ending where it felt like you left room for something. So could you tell us if there's a possibility that there will be a sequel?
I mean, it foremost is important to like focus on this one and tell a beginning, middle, and end. You know, for me, the ending, I felt I wanted to know what happened to her, given what we see in the film. So, but yes, it does beg the question. You know, well, what? Why is she back? So it really is. It's up to the audience of what they want. I mean, it's been pretty amazing to see the response over this past weekend of how many people want more, which is, you know, a beautiful thing. So Greg, who wrote the comic book that it's based on, he's always envisioned his story as a trilogy. So I know where the story's going, and it's pretty great. So, you know, if there's an opportunity, there's a ton more story to tell.
Oh, that's awesome. So at blackfilm.com, we've always been about inspiring the youth and our community at large. I can tell that that's, you know, you're also about. So what advice would you give an aspiring young filmmaker that looks up to you?
Mhm. Um, to I would focus on the first thing that you're going to come out with. The first thing you should come out with, I feel, should be something personal. Should be a story only you could tell. That's going to announce to the world who you are as an artist, and that is honestly at times the hardest thing to do because there is a fear that your story is not worthy of being told. You haven't seen it before, so you want to focus on something you think that Hollywood wants to see. But there's enough of that. Focus on you. Focus on what's personal. Focus on what you're passionate about, because ultimately people are excited to see and hear from a new voice. And as daunting as it feels, understand you just need one yes. I've gotten 1,000 no's throughout my career, starting with Love and Basketball, where every studio turned it down. Beyond the Lights, 2 years writing, every studio turned it down. But it's that knowing that you just need that one yes, knowing how passionate you are about the story that you want to tell so badly, that keeps you in the fight, gives you that stamina to keep fighting, and with the hopes that you'll be able to put that story out into the world.
That's incredible. So I'll ask you this. At what point in your career did you feel like you were here? Like you were heard, you'd arrived, and you could have a seat at the table. You didn't have to raise your hand. You're Gina, and they're gonna listen. Like, what point did you feel like, you know what? I'm not an imposter.
Wow. You know what? I always believed that I was destined to be here, which I feel like is my superpower, and I see it in others as well. And that's what gets me hyped to help others out when I see talent, but not just talent, but grit and hustle, like Lena Waithe.
Yeah.
She saw it for herself, you know, early on before anybody saw it. But I saw that in her, so it inspires me to want to help. So for me, even going to film school, quitting track and basketball, which was my whole life, because I felt like there was something greater for me to do. I just had that. In terms of Hollywood, um, believing that same thing that I believed that I belonged, probably took a little bit longer. But I think after Secret Life of Bees, my second film, I felt pretty solid. And now at this point in my career, I do feel like the doors are open. So I'm eager to go through everyone, but also pull us through after me.
Okay. So I mean, and so let's ask this. So what is your dream project to work on? Something that you just haven't done yet that would be like sort of like your Gina takes over the world. And what would you do, or like who would you cast? Just anything of yours that just hasn't happened yet that you throw out there into the ether.
The problem is I do have my dream project. 100%. I'm afraid to say it out loud because I don't want someone else to do it. It's an incredible historical epic. It is our Braveheart, and I would be doing it for my son. So that should be a very big hint, given the names of my sons. But it's an incredible story, and I feel like I'm finally in a position where I'll be able to get that movie made.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It was definitely an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. It's just an honor. Thank you.
No, thank you so much.